Hi everybody, welcome to another amazing session on Vedantu. Most of you must already be knowing me. I'm Dr. Vani this side and I take biology on behalf of Vedantu. Today is a fabulous session on trying to score 150 plus in botany. If we look at it very holistically, I've been teaching especially for medical entrance for the past 10 years, and if there's one thing, if I may call it a thing, if there's one thing that most of the students really detest, if there's one thing that most of the students don't really know how to answer well, it will be kingdom plantae, plant physiology, plant growth and hormone, plant mineral nutrition. So majority of the times, that one thing which really troubles medical students in biology is some topics of botany. Now, because botany is usually not taught with a lot of interest, botany per se is not taught with some zeal and enthusiasm. That's why it becomes a little dry, it becomes a little drag, and that's also the reason why people do not really score well in botany. So here at Vedantu, let's try and change that. Let's try and completely, holistically uproot the system and try and make it much more interesting and extremely scoring. So what I will do today is, you see, botany will include kingdom plantae, botany will include physiology, plant morphology, plant anatomy, plant growth and hormones, plant mineral nutrition. That's really vast. That's very vast. To give you a glimpse of how do you score 150 plus, to give you a glimpse of the entire botany. So what I will do is I'll pick up a chapter which is one of the singular most important chapters. You get my point? It is one chapter which is really important. I personally will expect around 2 to 3 questions from this one chapter only. Plant physiology, the entire unit can fetch you around 10 plus MCQs in your NEET and your AIMS examination, right? And I will start from the beginning of this chapter. We have some amazing slides loaded for the chapter right before you, where you will see how I have combined various textbooks and made notes on Vedantu for you, which will really help you in your preparation because they are very crisp. They are concise yet in detail for both your board exams, your NEET exams, as well as your AIMS exams. So let's start with photosynthesis while I show you that how do you study, what should be the methodology of studying, what should be the methodology of making notes, and what should be the focus areas so that you are able to take the maximum out of the particular topic and score really well. Right, my dear students? So chalo, let's start. Let's all start and embark on this super cool journey. We're trying to score 150 plus in botany. Let's do it. Yes, okay. So yeah, photosynthesis. Now, I'm sure so many of your teachers have taught you photosynthesis. You already know so much about photosynthesis. You've been reading it from your class 7th. I'll try and make it very interesting. I'll try and put a lot of facts in it, which are very important from AIMS point of view. I would want all of you to sit with a paper and a pen and copy down all the extra points that I tell you. I have a habit of quoting the exams and the boards along with the subject that I'm teaching so that you are in sync with what is important. You are in sync with how to start studying, how to make notes. You also must remember, my dear children, that in the end, you see, you will reach a month of April after your board exams when your NEET exam will be in the month of May. So you will basically have only 1 month of April to revise what you've studied in the entire 2 years. So I cannot focus more on the concept of making notes. It's very important that you have amazing notes ready so that in that 1.5 month in the end, you're really able to focus on the gist of all the subjects that you have ready. So let's start with photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a process by which plants prepare food by using carbon dioxide, which we already know since our 7th, 8th classes, and water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. In today's class, this particular molecule we are going to do in so much more detail. So photo basically means light because light travels in the form of these packets called photos, and synthesis means to make. So it's an enzyme regulated process. That means in photosynthesis, we require enzymes. Now, you all know that enzymes work at a particular temperature and pH only. Beyond a particular temperature and pH, they do not work. So is it fine to say that photosynthesis, because it is controlled by enzymes, if the temperature is very high or very low, that means if the enzymes are at a very high temperature or a very low temperature, they will get denatured or they will stop working and the reaction will stop. Absolutely. It's an anabolic process. What do you understand by anabolic process? I'm going to make something. What is it that I want to make? I'm going to make glucose out of simple products, like simple compounds like carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. That's called an anabolic process. I'm making something. The opposite is breaking it. So when I have glucose ready, I break it down to release energy. This is called as catabolism. I'm going to break it down. When I make something using C, using H, that's called as anabolism, right? So it's a process of manufacturing of organic compounds like glucose inside the chlorophyll containing cells from carbon dioxide. It will only happen in the chlorophyll containing cells. Look at this plant here. It's a beautiful green pothos. Pothos is a money plant. Do you see certain leaves is white? I'm sure you are able to see them. See, that's why I've specially kept this plant. Do you see certain leaves is white? Yes. These areas which are white, are called as achlorophylous. What are they called as? They don't have chlorophyll. So these are the ones which do not do photosynthesis, right? It's such presence of less amount of chlorophyll or low amount of chlorophyll or sometimes no chlorophyll is also called as variegated. It can come in your MCQs. Does variegated leaf have efficient ability to do photosynthesis? No, right? So photosynthesis is a process which can only happen in the chlorophyll containing cells. The light energy, the radiant energy, the energy of the sun, right? Energy of the light is converted into C6H12O6. We store it in the form of a chemical. The simple equation of photosynthesis is this, which is also discussed in the next page in the form of a complete balanced equation. So let's move ahead and let's do that. Come. Yes, photosynthesis, you can see, is an oxidation and a reduction, both reaction. That's why it's called a redox reaction. On one side, there is loss of electrons. On another side, there is gain of electrons. So it's a both oxidation as well as a reduction reaction. You can see this. I add a H to the C, right? So that's called reduction. I add a H to the C, right? And one very important thing which I want you to see here and remember is there is oxygen which is always liberated. The oxygen which is liberated from photosynthesis is always a byproduct of photosynthesis. It is not the aim of photosynthesis. It never was the aim of photosynthesis that it should be producing oxygen. It's a byproduct. Oxygen is always produced from water, not from carbon dioxide as it was initially thought. Right, everybody? It's produced from water. Also, carbon dioxide gets reduced to form a sugar. So there's reduction on one side, there's oxidation on the other side. Such reactions are called as redox reactions. What are they called? They're called as redox reactions. The complete equation of photosynthesis is here. So we have carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide combines with water to produce glucose. Water is also removed outside and we also produce oxygen. Right? We produce oxygen as a byproduct of photosynthesis. Let's move ahead, right? Now, moving ahead, this is very, very important from your MCQ point of view. Yes, extremely, extremely important from your MCQ point of view, right? These are certain facts which I have collected, okay? And these facts are very important for your aims as well as your NEET, right? These are things which are not really mentioned in any textbook in the form of a chart that I'm showing you. These are things which are a little different. These are accumulated from a variety of textbooks. If you all stay back till the end of the lecture, I have something really important to share with you. Every year a question comes from the name of the scientist. So there's something really important that I will share with you after the class, right? I mean towards the end of the class. Now, most important fun facts and very importantly which are coming in aims and NEET is the concentration of gaseous carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is 0.03% by volume, right? It is this much, right? Remember this. Carbon dioxide present in the oceans is in the form of dissolved gases or carbonates is estimated about 11.2 into 1014 tons. 50 times more than in the atmosphere. So much more amount of atmosphere is dissolved in the form of carbonates in the oceans and seas. Not really very important, can come. This is very important fact. That's why I've highlighted it with the blue color. This is a multiple times AIMS question. 90% of the total photosynthesis is carried out by aquatic plants. Can anybody tell me why does this happen? This happens because the seas are much more than the land. 70% of the earth is covered by water. So aquatic plants, especially algae, has much higher ability to do photosynthesis than the land plants. Only 10% of the carbon dioxide is fixed, CO2 to C6H12O6 by land plants. 85% of it is done by algae, right? Out of the 90% which is done by aquatic plants. In the land, which is one place which fixes a maximum carbon dioxide, you know it, they are the Amazon rainforests, right? On the land, it is the Amazon rainforest which has the maximum ability to do photosynthesis. But on the earth, the maximum ability to do photosynthesis lies with water, lies with seas. So this is also a very important question. The first true and oxygenic photosynthesis. What do we mean by oxygenic photosynthesis? The one which produced oxygen. So the first oxygenic photosynthesis, the one which produced oxygen, right, was done by blue-green algae. Blue-green algae, which is also called as cyanobacteria. Blue-green algae, my dear children, is a misnomer. What do I understand by misnomer? It's a wrong thing to say, because it's not an algae, it's a bacteria. The name of the bacteria is cyanobacteria. Cyano stands for blue. It was the first bacteria which started doing photosynthesis and produced oxygen as a byproduct. Multiple time previous year questions. Which was the first bacteria which produced oxygen as a byproduct? Blue-green algae. What does it produce as a byproduct? It produces oxygen, right? It does photosynthesis. It is a bacteria. There is a plant by the name of Cuscuta. It's also a multiple times MCQ question. There's a plant by the name of Cuscuta. Cuscuta is a parasitic plant. Which plant? It's a parasitic plant. It is a parasite on the stems of another plant. It is yellow in color. It's a yellow colored vine. It's a bale. It's a vine. It's a yellow colored vine which is parasitic. So Cuscuta, which is a yellow colored parasitic vine, is non-photosynthetic. It will take the food from the plant on which it is a parasite. It cannot do photosynthesis. Fungi are saprophytes. Fungi are dead decaying organisms, eating organisms, right? They eat the dead decaying organisms. They don't do photosynthesis. Euglena is photosynthetic. Very important. Euglena is a connecting link between animals and plants, because when there is no sunlight, Euglena will eat something up. That is called as heterotrophy. And when there is sunlight, Euglena has a pigment. So Euglena will do photosynthesis. Pigment reminds me, I have made some amazing slides on pigments which will follow this, which is very important from NEET point of view. I might not even touch photosynthesis today, right? I might not even touch the process, which all the teachers immediately jump onto the process and teach you the process. I might not do the process, but these are the places from which the tough questions in botany come. This is how you score 150 plus in botany. Is that clear? So Euglena is a connecting link between plants and animals. When there is sunlight, Euglena will do photosynthesis. When there is no sunlight, Euglena will eat something else. It's a connecting link between plants and animals. It is photosynthetic. This is a multiple time AIMS question. This question is basically from plant morphology, but related to this topic. There are two plants. Have you all seen the roots? Have you all seen the roots of plants? Yes? Have you seen the roots of plants? What kind of roots do they have? Now, I've got another specimen for you. Right? Majority of the times, you see the roots here. Now see this everybody. You're seeing the roots here. See this everybody. See, you see the roots here? The roots are slightly greenish in color because they've got algae over them, because it's growing in water. Can you see they're not white? Otherwise, all the roots are white in color. You see these roots are slightly green. Are you getting my point? So these roots are green. There are two plants. The names of the plants are Tinospora and Trappa. What are the names of the plants? Tinospora and Trappa. These roots of Tinospora and Trappa are green in color. Because the roots are green in color, my dear children, they have the ability to do photosynthesis. Getting my point? So because the roots are green in color, they have the ability to do photosynthesis. Very important question in AIMS and NEET. They are assimilatory roots. Assimilation means the ability to make C6H12O6. This is again a NEET question, extremely important. Out of the total energy which falls on the earth, imagine the sunlight shines every single day. We get up in the morning and there's sunlight outside. Out of the total energy that the sun puts on earth, only 0.2% is utilized by photosynthetic organisms. Can you imagine the gravity? That means the entire energy which is on the earth, you and me, because we're all dependent on plants for energy, nobody else can fix carbon dioxide. The plants use only 0.2% of the total solar energy to run the earth. That is where all the energy comes from, right? So 0.2%. MCQ question, timers for a trapper. MCQ question, first organism oxygenic. MCQ question, Euglena photosynthetic. MCQ question, all four of them. MCQ question, 0.03% MCQ question, extremely important. 90% aquatic plants. MCQ question. This is one chart which is full of MCQ questions, right? Moving ahead to the structure which does photosynthesis. So I will explain this with the help of a chart which is there on the next page. Let me come to the chart and I shall explain this here. Right, everybody, look here. So this is the structure which is going to do photosynthesis. The structure which does photosynthesis is called the chloroplast. Can you see that the chloroplast is made up of two membranes? Yes. So the chloroplast is a double membrane bound organelle. It's an organelle which has got two membranes. Can you see this little structure first of all inside? Right, this little structure. Okay, first let me tell you, this is the outer membrane of the chloroplast. This is the inner membrane of the chloroplast. This stuff inside the inner membrane, this entire thing is full of liquid inside, right? So can I say that this entire thing is full of liquid here? So you have the outer membrane, you have the inner membrane, and inside you have liquid. This entire thing is full of liquid. This entire thing which is full of liquid is called stroma. What is it called? It's called as stroma. Are you getting my point, everybody? It's called as stroma, right? So in the stroma, we have a structure here which is called the DNA. Now, you know this is the cell. Suppose this is a plant cell. So the plant cell will have its own nucleus. And this is the chloroplast in the plant cell. So I repeat again quickly. This is a plant cell. The plant cell will have its own nucleus. Correct, everybody? And this is the chloroplast which also has its own DNA. So can you see a plant cell has a structure which also has its own DNA? So the chloroplast has its DNA just like the mitochondria. Both the chloroplast and the mitochondria have their own DNA. Is that clear? Their own DNA apart from the plant cell. So anybody who has their own DNA is called a semi, means half. Autonomous means on their own, they will do the decision making. They will do this stuff on their own, organelle. Why are they called semi-autonomous organelle? Because half the times they will listen to the DNA, right? Are you getting my point? They will listen to the nucleus. This is the one who will give command. And they have their own DNA, so the DNA will also give commands. So they will listen to themselves also, and they will listen to the DNA also. So they're referred to as a semi-autonomous organelle. I repeat, because of the DNA, the chloroplast is a semi-autonomous organelle. The chloroplast has got stroma. The chloroplast has an outer membrane. The chloroplast has an inner membrane. There's a space in between the membranes. This space is called the perimitochondrial space or the perichloroplast space, because the mitochondria also has two membranes. So there's a very small amount of space between the two membranes. They have their own DNA, and the liquid which is inside is called stroma. Now, can you see this coin stacked on each other kind of an appearance? Can you see how they look like coins stacked on each other, how they look like coins stacked on each other? This particular structure, which is like a coin on coin, coin on coin, coin on coin, coin on coin, is called the granum, right? It's called the granum, right, everybody? An individual coin, there's one coin, on top of that another coin, on top of that another coin, on top of that another coin. So these structures are called the thylakoids. Right? The thylakoid also has a membrane. The thylakoid is also made up of a membrane like this. The thylakoid also has a membrane, right? See the thylakoid membrane, and it has a space inside. The space is called lumen. What is it? It's got a space inside. The space is called lumen. So let me quickly go through the diagram again. We have a double membrane structure. We have a DNA inside the chloroplast. We have the liquid inside the chloroplast called stroma. We have a coin-stacked appearance called grana. Individual members are called the thylakoid. The thylakoid are linked to each other. Can you see how the thylakoids kind of are linked to each other? So the linkage of the thylakoids to each other is called stromal lamellae. It's also called as fret channel. One thylakoid membrane is linked, like the one bundle is linked to the another bundle with the help of stromal lamellae. And we have ribosomes. This is how the structure of a chloroplast is. One small little brief here before I go to the pigments. You see, the plant is green. It's able to absorb sunlight because it's got pigments, right? Let me again show you this little plant here. Can you see the pigments, everybody? Can you all see the pigments? Can you see a little yellow with a green interspersed, right? So these are the pigments, everybody. Why is it appearing green? Because it is reflecting green. It's absorbing everything else and it is reflecting green. So because it is reflecting green, it is appearing green. Is that clear? It reflects the green color. Now, the pigments which give the color, the pigment is present here. So I will write it as pigment. The pigment is present here. Is that clear? The pigment is present on the grana thylakoid. This is where the pigment is present. When the sunlight falls, right? When the plant takes in the sunlight, when the sunlight falls, on these pigments here, the pigments produce something which is called as ATP and NADPH. This is what I have to teach you in detail. I'm just telling you something in very brief. This is what we have to do it in class 11 in absolute detail. So when the sunlight falls on the chloroplast, the sunlight goes to the pigments. The pigments are present in the grana. So when the sunlight falls on the grana and it falls on the pigments of the grana produce something which is called as ATP, come out in the stroma, right? The grana makes the ATP, grana makes the NADPH, and then this ATP and NADPH come out in the stroma. And in the stroma, this ATP and NADPH will combine the carbons to each other. See how the carbons will join in the stroma with the help of the energy of the ATP and NADPH. The carbons will combine to each other to form something which is called C6H12O6. Is that clear? Is that clear, everybody? So ATP and NADPH help you to make glucose. ATP and NADPH help you to make glucose. Right, everybody? ATP, let me write it for you. Yes, the ATP and the NADPH is produced in the granum. It's going to help you to make C6H12O6 in the stroma. Now, because they help you to make the C6H12O6, they are referred to as the assimilatory power, assimilatory powers. Why are they called the assimilatory powers? Because they help us in assimilation. What is assimilation? Joining carbon to form glucose. This is assimilation. This is very important MCQ. What are assimilatory powers? ATP and NADPH. Where are the assimilatory powers made? Granum. How are they made? With the help of sunlight. Where do the assimilatory powers go out? The assimilatory powers go out to the stroma. What do they do in the stroma? They join the carbon with the hydrogen to form C6H12O6. This is the basicest that it can be, the most basic definition that it can be. And now let's do it in much more detail. Before we go into detail of how do we do photosynthesis, what is assimilatory power, how do we create assimilatory power, first let's do that. Who is absorbing the light? Say this plant again. You see a little green, you see a little white. So there is something which is making it green and white. You see this plant again, right, everybody? You see a little yellow. You see a little yellow, you see flowers, you see different colors, right, everybody? So there is something which is making them this particular color. I want to show you something very special, very special. I specially kept these plants for you today. You see the reds? Do you see the reds under the leaves? Come on. Yes? I wanted you to have a look. You see this purple here? Can you see the reds and can you see the purples, everybody? Yes, these are all pigments. And I'm going to show you each one of them. I've specially kept them for you. Look at this. Now look at this purple here behind. Look at this. Look at the purple. Can you see the purple, everybody? Yes? Correct? Now, what are these? What are these insane amount of colors which are present, and how exactly do these beautiful things trap light. This is today's class, and from here a lot of MCQs come, a lot of MCQs. So we are left with good about 10 to 15 minutes in the class where I am going to show you what are pigments and how exactly they differ from one plant to the other. If they differ from one plant to the other, how do they change the ability of the plant to do photosynthesis? If bacteria can do photosynthesis, what is the pigment which is present in bacteria? And how exactly do they trap light? How after trapping light, they convert the light to ATP, right? Amazing session. Let's do it. I hope you're all understanding. Yes, everybody? Come, let's do it. Pigments which occur on photosynthetic thylakoids. I told you in the previous class, in the previous page. Let me just show you again. Where are the pigments present? The pigments are present here. Yes, that's exactly what we were doing. Let me show you again. The pigments are present here. The pigments are present here. The pigments are present here. Right? The pigments are present here. What are they called? Bundle. What are they called individually? So can I say that the pigments are present in the grana thylakoid? Absolutely. Yes? Come, let's do it. So the pigments which are present in the grana thylakoids of the chloroplast take part in absorption of light energy for the purpose of photosynthesis. What are they going to do with the light energy, my dear children? The pigments will convert this light energy into a substance called ATP and NADPH. How we are going to do it? How we are going to do it? First of all, let's do the pigments. What all are the pigments? The pigments include chlorophyll and carotenoids. Chlorophyll is the green pigment which is present in the leaf. So wherever there is green, there is chlorophyll. The chlorophyll is further of all these types, A, B, C, D, E. But in higher plants, in angiosperms, I just have two types of chlorophyll. What are the two types of chlorophylls which I have in higher plants? We have something which is called as chlorophyll A, and we have something which is called as chlorophyll B. Amount of chlorophyll B is roughly 1/4 of the total chlorophyll content. So who becomes a major chlorophyll? MCQ. Who will become a major chlorophyll? NEET MCQ. AIMS MCQ, chlorophyll A. It is the universal photosynthetic pigment, or the primary or the main photosynthetic pigment. It's like the one who's present in 90% of the times, 90% of the amount. All other photosynthetic pigments will help it. They are not the main pigments, right? All other pigments are the accessory pigments. You buy a car, so the engine of the car is the main thing. The model of the car is the main thing. Whether you put different types of tires, whether you put seat covers, whether you put different kind of mats, all of them are the accessories. The main thing is the model or the engine or the make of the car, right? So the main pigment is chlorophyll A. Everybody else is a secondary pigment. That's an MCQ question. Very, very, very important slide. Very important slide. Let's do it. Bacteria also have photosynthetic pigment. I just talked about a bacteria called blue-green algae called cyanobacteria. So the bacteria have two types of related pigments. One pigment of the bacteria is called bacteriochlorophyll. Another pigment in the bacteria is called as bacterioviridin. Both of them have types, further types also, but there are several types of bacteriochlorophyll. This is the formation of bacteriochlorophyll A. What you need to understand after looking at the formulas of all the chlorophyll, what is it that you can make out? Can you make out that all the formulas of the chlorophyll have a magnesium? This is last year's AIMS question. What is Epsom going to contribute to the plant? MgSO4. It is going to give chlorophyll the magnesium that is required. Is that clear? You've seen sometimes, you must have seen around your homes, you must have seen in your homes, sometimes the plants turn yellow. There is no chlorophyll. So at that time, they require magnesium. Extremely, extremely important. At the time that the plants are turning yellow, they require magnesium. Is that clear? Magnesium is a central molecule of the chlorophyll. This is an AIMS question, not once, multiple times. Right? Let me show it to you. See, this is the formula of a chlorophyll molecule. Can you see that right in the center we have a magnesium? Can you see that right in the center we have a magnesium? Yes, and I told you there are two main types of chlorophyll, chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B, out of which also chlorophyll A is the main chlorophyll. This is where the difference lies between chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. If it is chlorophyll A, there will be a CH3 group here. And if it is a chlorophyll B, we will have a CHO group here. Is that clear? This is a multiple times AIMS question. Multiple times question. Right? AIMS as well as NEET. First of all, the question is which is in the center of the porphyrin ring. This ring structure, see the chlorophyll, look here closely. The chlorophyll molecule has a ring-like structure and a tail. This is how a chlorophyll molecule is. It has a ring-like structure, it has a tail. This is extremely important from MCQ point of view. The main pigment is chlorophyll A. All the chlorophyll molecules have a ring-like structure and a tail. The tail is called a phytol tail. The ring is called a porphyrin ring. Right in the center of the porphyrin ring, note magnesium atom in the center, which is a MCQ question. Then there are two main types of chlorophyll, chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. What are the differences? They might ask you. There is a presence of CH3 group in chlorophyll A and there's a presence of a CHO group in chlorophyll B. Is that clear? And this is magnesium. You see this thing right in the middle? That is magnesium. Done, everybody? Is that clear? Good. Are you making notes? So chlorophyll A is a bluish green in pure state. Chlorophyll B is olive green. Bluish green, olive green. This has come in NEET twice. Bluish green, olive green. This is a NEET question. And remember the formulas. Remember the magnesiums, please. Chlorophyll structure was first studied by a scientist called Willstatter, Stoll and Fisher in the year 1912. You know biology. You're going to be giving the exam this year. You know a lot of questions come on scientists and their names. It also brings me to an important topic that I told you in the last. I will share with you. Yes. So all of you, you'll have to get in touch with me on Vedantu, through Vedantu, I mean the system, login, message me. When you message me and you tell me how did you like the class, I will then send you a list of all the scientists who have helped us learn a lot about photosynthesis. From there, a lot of questions come. So that's the last 5-minute yarn. You've got to tell me, you've got to give us a lot of feedback. You have to tell us whether you like us or not. And then when you write to us, I will then send you list of all the scientists who are indispensable in photosynthesis. That information will really help you to solve MCQs. That's a barter system to hear from you. Yes, come, let's do it. So the tadpole like configuration is there of a molecule of chlorophyll. They have a porphyrin and that's the head, and they have a tail which is called as phytol, and you have to note that there is magnesium in the center, which I've already explained with the help of this particular diagram. Can you see the diagram? I've already explained it with the help of this particular diagram. Perfect. Let's move ahead. Right, phytol is an insoluble long chain of carbon and hydrogen. The tail, that's made up of C20H39OH. You can avoid it. It's not really very important. You can avoid it. The only thing is that phytol attaches it to the thylakoid membrane. Right? This is important, but I've already just now told you chlorophyll B has a CHO group, chlorophyll A methyl group. Right? Is that clear? Is that clear? And that's at the third carbon. That I've just explained it to you. You can see this. I've just explained this to you. This is very important. I've told you so many times. CH3 in chlorophyll A and CHO in chlorophyll B. Extremely, extremely important. Right? Let's move ahead. Carotenoids. There are some pigments which are yellow, brown, reddish, the one which I showed you associated with chlorophylls, right? There are some pigments which could be yellowish, which could be brownish, which could be reddish. These are associated with chlorophyll molecules. Out of these two types are very important. One of them are called carotenes, one of them are called xanthophylls. The formula of carotene is C40H56. The formula of xanthophyle, they're reddish yellow. Right, xanthophyle is yellow. Zeaxanthin is found in maize. It's found in maize. Have you had maize? Is it yellow in color? Yes, that's because of the xanthophylls. And why are plants green? Because the green wavelength is reflected, not absorbed. So that kind of brings me to the last 7, 8, 9 minutes of the class, right? And I will try and summarize what all I've taught you and give you a glimpse of what all there is to study in this particular chapter. Why are plants green? Because they reflect the green light. Can you see this little, very small part of the spectrum called the visible. So there's gamma rays, X-rays, UV rays, infrared, microwave, radio waves, and there's a very small spectrum called the visible spectrum. It is this visible spectrum which has Vibgyor. It is there here that photosynthesis takes place, right? So I'll end the class with this particular thing. Between 400 to 700 nanometers of light, there is a spectrum which is called the photosynthetically active radiation. Only this particular small spectrum is photosynthetically active radiation, not before it, not after it. It is here that photosynthesis takes place. And I did tell you that only 0.2% of the total light that falls on Earth is converted into what green plants make energy of. Yes, whatever sunlight is absorbed by the plants will make the absorption spectrum. And when they absorb that particular sunlight, they are out there to do photosynthesis. After absorbing sunlight, they will make energy. So whatever energy they will make out of the light is the action spectrum. From here, I start in the next class. Yes, everybody. So this was just a glimpse. Let me just show you what amazing slides we have. Let me show you. Immersion effect, extremely important. Every second year we have MCQs on this, right? The light and dark reaction, which I kind of showed you. Did I not tell you that here we make ATP and NADPH2, which in the stroma will give us glucose, right? So then I will tell you about the light harvesting complexes. I will tell you about the cyclic, non-cyclic photosynthesis, photophosphorylations. Yes, see this. I'm sure you've read photosystem before. Have you seen a photograph like this ever, right? For a PS2 and a PS1. But unfortunately, the class has to get over today. I'm looking at the clock and see how this is how I will teach you photosystems. These photosystems are present in the granathylocoid. These are the ones which will convert light into ATP and NADPH2, right? So I'm really looking forward to an amazing session with you in the next class. Yes, I hope we all will meet really soon and we will have a fabulous session in the next class. Okay, one more thing that I told you right in the beginning of the lecture was this, that you all have to tell me how the class was through Vedantu. You can visit our page, tell me, and then when you do it, I'm going to send you a list of all the scientists that I've kind of, compiled from all the textbooks, which is going to tell us what kind of questions actually come in the examinations. Yes, everybody. So I had a fabulous session trying to teach you photosynthesis today. I hope you too really enjoyed the session as well. Botany has to be dealt with a lot of precision. It's not really a very easy subject. So it needs to be dealt with a lot of precision. It needs to be dealt with a lot of, in detailed study. And then only we'll be able to score 150 plus in this particular topic. So I hope today I was able to give you glimpses of how to do it. I shall see you all in the next class. Till then, bye-bye. Hope you had a fabulous session. Bye, guys. Waiting to hear from you so that I can send you the list of all the scientists. Bye.